This is a story about my life, where I, Emily, share my experiences. Currently, I'm 33 years old and expecting a baby. I'm taking time off work for maternity leave, so I spend my days managing our home. My husband, Grayson, is a successful businessman, highly respected in his field. However, at home, our relationship isn't as smooth. Grayson tends to be self-centered and quick to anger, especially when I express my thoughts. There was a time when I seriously considered divorcing him due to our differences. But then, I discovered I was pregnant. After much contemplation, I decided to stay in the marriage for the sake of our unborn child. Despite our marital challenges, Grayson's financial success has allowed us to live comfortably. We even own a beautiful house with a spacious garden and luxurious amenities like a sauna in the bathroom. In our neighborhood, our home is considered quite grand. However, my pregnancy hasn't been easy. I suffer from severe morning sickness, which often confines me to the bathroom for long periods. This sickness makes even simple tasks like grocery shopping a challenge. On particularly bad days, I have to rely on delivery services, which only adds to Grayson's frustration. He often criticizes me, accusing me of neglecting my household duties. One day, while struggling with morning sickness and housework, Grayson's harsh words pushed me to my limit. But in that moment, I found solace in the presence of my unborn child. I vowed to stay strong for the baby's sake, regardless of how Grayson treated me. Despite Grayson's continued coldness towards me, I found unexpected support from his sister Audrey. Unlike Grayson, Audrey is kind and empathetic. She noticed my struggles and offered to help with the groceries, reminding me that I shouldn't carry heavy loads during pregnancy. Her kindness lifted my spirits, and for a brief moment, I forgot about my morning sickness. As Audrey and I spent time together, chatting over coffee, I realized how much her companionship eased my discomfort. Perhaps, I thought, my mental state could influence the severity of my morning sickness. Audrey's presence made me feel lighter, both physically and emotionally. In the end, I learned that amidst life's challenges, kindness and support can make all the difference. And as I navigate the ups and downs of pregnancy, I hold on to the strength and resilience within me, knowing that I'm not alone on this journey. Once upon a time, as I was going about my day preparing dinner, Grayson, my husband, came home. He greeted me with a half-hearted welcome and immediately questioned if I had done my chores properly. His tone was dismissive, and I could sense his irritation. When I tried to explain how my severe morning sickness affected my ability to keep up with household tasks, he brushed it off as an excuse, insisting that pregnancy wasn't an illness and that I should just power through it. Months passed, and my belly grew bigger with the baby's growth. While I found joy in feeling the baby's kicks, the daily tasks of running the household became increasingly challenging. Feeling overwhelmed, I mustered the courage to ask Grayson for help, but his reaction was far from supportive. He lashed out at me, blaming me for getting pregnant and burdening him with extra work. His hurtful words cut deep, leaving me feeling vulnerable and alone. As tears streamed down my face, I sought solace in the comforting movements of my unborn child. In that moment, I realized that I needed to be stronger not only for myself, but for my baby too. Determined to persevere despite Grayson's lack of understanding, I focused on finding support elsewhere. It was then that Audrey, Grayson's sister, reached out to me with kindness and empathy. Her offer to accompany me to the supermarket was a welcome gesture of support, reminding me that I didn't have to face my challenges alone. As we shopped and shared a coffee together, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Audrey's genuine concern for my well-being provided the comfort and reassurance I desperately needed. With her by my side, I felt empowered to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that I had a true friend to lean on during this difficult time. As I listened to Audrey's cold voice, her anger towards Grayson was palpable. She seemed ready to confront him, even suggesting she should take matters into her own hands. But I quickly intervened, assuring her that just talking about my struggles with her had already provided me with immense relief. It dawned on me that keeping things bottled up inside was not healthy at all. Audrey's demeanor softened as she took my hand, expressing genuine remorse for her brother's behavior. She acknowledged that his actions couldn't be excused with a simple apology, but she thanked me for confiding in her. Her empathy touched me deeply, and I realized that I should have leaned on her for support much sooner. Grateful for Audrey's willingness to stand by me, I accepted her offer to confront Grayson together. So, when Grayson unexpectedly came home early one day with a calm and kind demeanor, I was taken aback. He proposed a trip to Hawaii before the baby arrived, suggesting that we both needed a break. His sudden change of heart left me feeling suspicious, especially after days of coldness and tension between us. But wanting to give our relationship another chance, I agreed to the trip, albeit with some reservations. Grayson seemed pleased with my acceptance and revealed that he had already made reservations for the following week. Initially, I was taken aback by the abruptness of the plan, but Grayson explained that he had been planning it for a while as a surprise, hoping to show his appreciation for me. Despite my anxieties about traveling so close to my due date, I decided to go along with the idea, hoping it might bring us closer together. As the day of the trip approached, Grayson's mood seemed to improve, and for the first time in a while, he appeared genuinely happy. It was as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders, and he remained cheerful until bedtime. On the day of our departure, we hurriedly packed our bags, ensuring we didn't forget anything. As we set off on our journey, I couldn't shake off a sense of apprehension lingering in the back of my mind. Little did I know, our trip would be a turning point in our relationship, for better or for worse. As I double-checked our travel preparations, Grayson's voice echoed from the bathroom, where he had been taking a bath. His call sounded urgent, so I hurried to see what was wrong. As I approached the bathroom, I noticed the door to the sauna was ajar. Confused as to why Grayson was using it before our trip, I cautiously peeked inside. Before I could react, a sudden force pushed me from behind, causing me to stumble and fall into the sauna. Instinctively, I tried to protect my pregnant belly as I landed on my back with a painful thud. The shock and pain were overwhelming as I looked up to see Grayson peering at me through the small window with a twisted smirk on his face. My heart sank as he callously revealed that he had no intention of taking me to Hawaii. His words cut deep as he belittled me for my weight gain and inability to keep up with household chores. It was a cruel betrayal, realizing that his recent kindness had all been a facade. Panic and desperation washed over me as I pleaded with him to let me out, but he ignored my cries and callously left the bathroom, leaving me trapped inside. The sound of the front door closing amplified my sense of despair as I struggled to comprehend what had just happened. Trapped in the sweltering heat of the sauna, fear began to consume me. With each passing moment, the air grew thick, and I felt myself suffocating. In a desperate attempt to cool down, I began to undress, hoping to alleviate the stifling heat. Amidst the chaos, I suddenly felt my phone fall from my clothes. With trembling hands, I dialed Audrey's number, praying for help. Relief flooded over me as her voice filled my ears, and I pleaded for her assistance. Without hesitation, Audrey rushed to my rescue, breaking into the house when she found the front door locked. Her tearful embrace was a balm to my battered spirit as she reassured me that everything would be okay. Before long, I found myself waking up in a hospital bed with Audrey by my side, her eyes filled with concern and relief. Learning that I had mild dehydration but would be fine with some rest, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. As my parents and in-laws crowded around me, their worry and concern evident, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by their love and support. Despite the ordeal, knowing that my baby was safe filled me with an indescribable sense of relief and gratitude. As I gathered with my family and Audrey, I felt a surge of determination. What Grayson had done was unforgivable, and I knew I couldn't let him get away with it. Despite the anger boiling within each of us, I urged everyone to listen to my plan before taking any drastic actions. With their support, I was discharged from the hospital and temporarily stayed at my parents' house while the repairs were being made to my home. Audrey, who had been instrumental in my rescue, stood by my side throughout. As the days passed, we meticulously executed our plan. After the window was fixed, I returned home with my parents, preparing for Grayson's imminent return. The memories of what had transpired in the bathroom sent shivers down my spine, but I remained resolute. On the day of Grayson's return, I anxiously awaited Audrey's call, signaling his arrival. When it finally came, I braced myself for what was to come, thanking Audrey for her unwavering support despite my guilt for involving her in our family drama. With bated breath, I watched the live feed from my house, the culmination of our elaborate scheme. As Grayson entered the house, his demeanor betrayed a sense of unease. The cameras captured his suspicious glance around the house before he made a beeline for the bathroom. In a moment of déjà vu, Grayson peered through the small window of the sauna, only to be met with a horrifying sight. The sauna door, rigged to remain shut, trapped him inside once again. Panic-stricken, he fled the house, leaving behind a trail of confusion. Outside, Audrey played her part to perfection, feigning casualness as she engaged Grayson in conversation. Her quick thinking and unwavering resolve helped maintain the facade as Grayson's discomfort grew. As Grayson attempted to dismiss the strange odor emanating from the house, Audrey's persistence paid off. She pushed past him, determined to investigate the source of the smell. Upon discovering the rigged sauna door and the grotesque scene inside, she screamed in horror. In a panic, Grayson fled from the scene, leaving behind his failed attempt to undermine me. Watching it all unfold from a distance, I felt a mix of vindication and sadness. But amidst it all, I knew that I had a support system I could rely on, ready to stand by my side no matter what challenges lay ahead. As I watched the video alongside Audrey, her gleeful thumbs up and playful grin brought a smile to my face despite the gravity of the situation. Afterward, Audrey helped me open all the windows in the house and dispose of the rotting fish and the humanized doll that had been placed in the sauna. The stench was unbearable, and I couldn't help but apologize to Audrey for not cleaning it up myself. However, Audrey refused to let me take the blame, insisting that she couldn't let me deal with it alone. We both acknowledged the seriousness of the situation, realizing that if I had been trapped in the sauna as Grayson intended, the outcome could have been far worse. It was a sobering realization that underscored the necessity of our actions. Later, when my in-laws confronted Grayson about his actions, they were shocked and appalled. Despite my initial reluctance to involve them, they eagerly offered their support in ensuring Grayson faced the consequences of his actions. Seeing their determination mirrored Audrey's reaction, I couldn't help but reflect on the similarities between parents and children. As we attempted to contact Grayson, it became evident that he had disappeared. Even his workplace seemed concerned about his whereabouts, further confirming our suspicions that he believed he had caused a serious incident. With Audrey's help, we eventually located Grayson with his mistress, prompting a confrontation at his parents' house. Watching the scene unfold from a distance, I observed as Audrey confronted Grayson, her strength and resolve evident as she demanded answers. Despite his silence, the gravity of his actions was not lost on anyone present, least of all his parents. In the face of their disappointment and reprimands, Grayson fell silent, realizing the severity of his actions. As the dust settled and Grayson grappled with the consequences of his actions, I couldn't help but feel a sense of closure. Though the road ahead would undoubtedly be challenging, knowing that Grayson was being held accountable for his behavior brought me a measure of peace. And through it all, I was grateful for the unwavering support of my family and Audrey, who stood by my side every step of the way. As my parents handed Grayson the divorce form, the atmosphere grew tense. Reluctantly, he began to fill it out, But even in this moment, his concern was solely for his assets. Audrey's slap served as a reminder that his priorities were grossly misplaced. His audacity to speak of remarriage amidst such turmoil left us all astounded, and the reprimands from his parents were swift and severe. As I watched the scene unfold through my phone, I felt a mix of disbelief and anger. How could he so callously discuss moving on to another relationship while our marriage crumbled around us? The confrontation escalated, with Grayson's attempt to shift blame onto me met with justified outrage from my in-laws. Once the divorce papers were signed and Grayson's departure from his parents' house became inevitable, I decided to intervene. Stepping into the room, I confronted him directly, shattering the illusion that I was gone forever. His shock and confusion were palpable, his bravado crumbling in the face of reality. Despite his feeble attempts to justify his actions, my resolve remained unshaken. With the support of my family and Audrey, I faced him head-on, demanding accountability for his betrayal. The tremble in his voice betrayed his fear as he realized the gravity of his situation. As my parents and Audrey stood by my side, I thanked them for their unwavering support, knowing that I wasn't alone in this ordeal. With the divorce papers signed and the evidence of his infidelity collected, I was ready to take the next steps towards claiming what was rightfully mine. The following day, I took action, submitting the divorce papers and evidence to my lawyer and initiating proceedings to claim child support and compensation. With the assurance that justice would be served, I felt a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos, knowing that I was taking back control of my life. After much consideration, I decided against filing a police report for Grayson's crime, out of respect for his family who had supported me through this ordeal. However, a few days later, my lawyer contacted me, informing me that my ex-husband wanted to have a meeting to discuss matters. Despite my initial hesitation, I agreed to the meeting with the lawyer's approval, preparing myself to face Grayson and his mistress, who surprisingly attended the meeting together. As the meeting commenced, Grayson wasted no time in expressing his refusal to pay compensation or child support, citing his loss of job as a reason. However, the lawyer swiftly countered his arguments, pointing out the validity of the compensation request and the obligation of child support regardless of visitation rights. Grayson's claims of being unaware of my survival fell flat in the face of our evidence, and his mistress's presence only added to the tension. When Grayson attempted to silence me, stating his agreement to pay compensation and child support, I clarified that it was not for his sake, but out of consideration for his family. Nevertheless, I made it clear that if he didn't agree to these terms, I would file a police report. Reluctantly, Grayson agreed, and both parties settled on compensation and child support payments. Subsequently, Grayson's life took a downturn. His repeated job losses left him struggling to make ends meet, relying on odd jobs and his mistress's income. Despite her initial pursuit of Grayson's wealth, his mistress seemed to have lost her patience with him, though she begrudgingly complied with his demands due to his domineering nature. Meanwhile, the night after the compensation meeting, I went into labor and gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Despite the challenges I had faced, the support of my family, including Grayson's, remained unwavering. Surrounded by love, I felt truly blessed as I watched my child grow and thrive. Despite the tumultuous journey, my relationship with Grayson's family endured, and they continued to be a part of my child's life. Through it all, I found solace in the love and support that surrounded me, reaffirming my belief in the power of family and resilience in the face of adversity.